welcome to Beauties and Beasties, the independent pest podcast for the UK.
Hello. How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm laughing because the guest has literally turned up at the second I was thinking, there's something going on. And I can see him in the green room laughing his head off because he knows we're stressing the fucker, right?
That's okay.
Yeah.
We haven't told him where all the secret buttons are or anything, so we'll just make
Oh,
sure.
yeah. I'm going to press the ejector button. He just goes up and out the ceiling. He doesn't know that yet, does he? It's like fucking James Bond in it.
Brand new. We just installed it. I'm doing good. It's been it's been a hellishly hot week. And I'm working inside. You guys outside must be absolutely sweltering your tinies off in this. It's unreal. Do you prefer it when it's hot or cold? I mean, personally, I much prefer working in winter outside than working in the summer cold. Yeah.
It's vertebrae work and the cold in it, and invertebrate work and the heat. And I've had two conversations this week where I've spoken to people who have refused work in lofts because it was too hot, but we don't. We just get on with it. We just get on with it. I'm more than happy to get up in a loft on a hot day, and it is hot, but I've never felt like it was dangerous. Maybe I need to reconsider that. I don't know, but we're certainly going to have a big think about it. Just try and be sensible in it, but yeah.
It's technically a confined, technically it's not technically anything. It definitely is a confined space because the heat in some of these attics and loft spaces can get barbaric. I remember when I moved into my house 5 years ago now, all of the attic was just old insulation, absolutely rubbish. So I relagged and reboarded the entire thing in the middle of the summer heat. And I was just like, this is how I die. Literally, they just gives me this instantly hit the roofing insulation and just desiccate like a mummy's corpse. So anyone who's actually doing anything, to a time standard in there is going to be. I don't blame you. I mean, especially if you're doing a wasp nest in an attic and you're all suited up with your mask on. God, it's going to be absolute bullshit.
Well, I've had the first few callbacks off Vulcan that we wouldn't have got off FiCam.
Interesting. Why is that?
Not being able to get it into the nest, not being able to find the nest, so you're treating the entrance. They're the ones that get you. Sometimes you're being lucky, but again, necessity is the mother of invention. On your revisit, you're starting to work out what's going on, different things you can do, etc., etc. The one thing that I hadn't accounted for as being very useful is your ears.
Yeah, because they make a lot of noise, don't they?
No, not that at all. I'll show you it before I go. I bought a longer flexible nozzle for the DR5. I used to use the short brass nozzle because you could just get it in. Now I'm using the long flexible nozzle and I'm literally pushing it in to the entrance and pushing it around in different directions, feeling for that paper, listening for that noise.
It's about listening for the noise of you just breaking the envelope of the nest.
Yeah. And then once I broke the envelope, giving it a wallop. And when we're doing that works. So ears. But anybody who is thinking they're going to be treating the entrance of these nests with Vulcan and tells you that this is great, I'm not going to say they're a liar because you can always be wrong. I would love to go to work with them and see what they're doing because they're doing something different to us. For definite.
I would love to see one of the like equipment manufacturers because we get them on everything. But you can get the little sink cam boroscopes for sticking behind kitchen counters and the rest of that.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that you can clip onto the end of your brass, lance nozzle, so you can actually see. I mean, they made the ferret cam thing, and that was great, but it was huge. You'd never get it underneath a tile. You'd never get it in sort of like a hole. You could see the tile that you're wanting to get to, but you'd never be able to see up and under it.
Well, it's interesting. Guess what I've just put on order? a 6mm 4-way articulating boroscope, exactly for that purpose.
Yeah.
Put it in, and instead of like putting it in, trying to work out in moving round off your thumb, and the 6mm will go through most of your holes. And in fact, I tell you the other thing, and I don't mind telling you this because I know a lot of people don't share information, but we will. We've been drilling a lot of holes on our revisit. If you dust if you dust a air brick and it hasn't worked, we're putting 12 holes in around the air brick in a star shape and dusting each hole, and coming out 8-10 inches, just putting a couple of grams in each hole and giving it that wide thing, and that's definitely having a better idea. Exactly, Al. Exactly. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, so I've had one for years, and it's to do exactly that. So I actually bought this for a job. Would have been 18 months ago, 2 years. It would have been 2 years because it would have not been last season, the season before, when there was a wasp nest actually in the eaves, or not the eaves, the porch of someone's house, that was completely sealed off, and they're coming in through the what do you call it? The air soffit, the little plastic air soffits that you get. And I could see them going in. I pulled the soffit down and out, and I saw them going in and then running along. And I was like, if I just knock Vulcan up here, it's just they'll avoid it. So I ran down to Screwfix, which is just down the road, bought this, and all I did then was just sort of like did an exploratory little hole up, stuck the camera in and up, and I saw the nest. And at that point, could sort of like jab the nest from underneath and didn't have to worry about it. Also bought some like 6mm dowel at the same time, just put it in and sawed it off, so there was no gaping great holes in their roof.
I know. I've done a video. I'm going to put a video on. I'll show you. We're literally just using a red plug, 6mm red plug in done.
Okay.
Have that. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting, and those who get it right will make some money, but those who get it wrong. However, boo and hiss to all the people who have bought fucking Vicam, because there is loads of them out there. Loads. Not one or two. There is loads of them out there. It is what it is.
I'll say nothing because we all know what my views on this are. But we do better.
So, but we have a guest on tonight who probably might talk wasps a little bit. I know he does a few. Has a similar sort of business to us. He's very well spoken. He's very sedate. Doesn't say a lot. It's not very opinionated. So
we're going to have to get some real audience participation to bring him out of his shell tonight, because otherwise he's going to, just clam up and sorry, people listening to this and watching this right now, Sean and I are saying this, but we can both see Kieran in the green room at the bottom, and he's absolutely wetting himself with laughter. In knocking back a bit. So this is going to be
hold on to your hat, Spoke. The man, the myth, the legend, Kieran Casper.
Right.
I want to ask him. I've got to ask him something as well. First question. It's going to be a cracker. Right. Come on, then, Kieran.
All right. Okay. So 3, 2. Oh, there we go. 1. Hello, Kieran. How you doing?
I'm all right. Yourself?
Good. Yeah.
Doing good.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Kieran, and I'm the managing director of Vermicure Pest Control and the founder of Yorkshire Rat Pack, specialising in rodent control.
Yeah.
Obviously based in between Leeds and Wakefield. Do mainly rats. I like doing rats more than anything else, but you have to dabble in a bit of other stuff, don't you? But yeah, it's one of them, innit?
Yeah. So first question. Why did you call Hugh a clown? Because he's proper took it to heart.
Who?
Hugh.
I called him what?
A clown.
Fuck it, I call everybody a clown, don't I? I'm very opinionated. I don't.
If you had called me a clown, it would have been like water off a duck's back, but he's a soft southerner, isn't he? So
has he got disheartened about it?
He's proper took it to heart. Yeah, he's proper. Yeah.
That's a light term. Never mind though.
I know. Yeah.
Nah, he's a good manager. He knows a lot, doesn't he? He's been in the industry quite a long time, so I won't slag him off. I'm not like that. Do you know what I mean?
I would slag him off. He's baldy. Don't like baldy people. I hate baldy people.
I'll let you say that. I'm not saying it. I'll keep it in there, me. Can I drink on it? Yeah.
I can't stop you.
Lovely.
Absolutely. No, drink up. I mean, we've plenty of folks do. So, Kieran, tell us a little bit about who you were before you got into pest management. Have you always done pest management? I mean, what was your life prior to that?
So, I did 7 years in army. Obviously, then got out in 2017. I ended up going to Leeds City Council, doing I don't know if you've ever seen it, grindbusters when they go in houses and clean and stuff like that. Some of the worst jobs you ever see. Obviously, people deceased, you're going after, clean it all up from graffiti, worst at worst, basically. And I was doing a slight bit of pest control with Leeds City Council, but I was never going to be a pest controller. It never come into contact. Do you know what I mean? It never. I never thought about. I never sat back and said I want to do pest control. It were COVID what did it. I had a couple of terriers. I was ratting, and I thought, well, what can I do? I'm only working 1 day a week, so I ended up going. Just posting on Facebook saying anybody got any rats in the garden because rubbish were building up. And then obviously I had Poppy. She's one of the best dogs I've ever had. Unbelievable at finding rats. And she would just...
Isn't she a Lakeland?
What?
Isn't she a Lakeland?
Yeah, one of the best Lakelands ever. Trust me, John.
Still doesn't make it a good dog though, does it? It's a Lakeland.
They're smart though, aren't they? They're smart, Sean. Hey,
They're not black, are
black dogs. I do know black.
And they're not black, are they?
Nah, I can't stand the black. Oh, I can't say that, but yeah. Yeah, can't stand patterdales.
Oh, don't you dare.
Oh, right.
Don't you
Sorry. Just very quickly, anyone who's listened to this, if this is the first podcast you've ever listened to, Sean has this really weird sort of fascination that certain dogs are, Sean, explain it.
Basically, what happens is, right, everyone starts off probably with a Jack Russell or a Lakeland, and then they'll kill a few rats with them, and they'll realise that they're feeding a dog that can only do half a job. So eventually they see a proper dog, a black dog, like a fell, and then they'll get converted, and then once they're converted, they'll realise they've been feeding rubbish dogs for a long time, and they'll never look back. That's generally the actual habit of what goes on.
I've never ever thought about getting a patterdale, and I will never ever get a patterdale. I will tell you that for a fact.
The class,
not my type of dog, Sean.
The class. Don't dare.
Listen,
the thing
they've
is,
got an listen. Their heads are in it, but they're just a bit daft, aren't they? Headstrong, don't have a clue about it.
No, but I'm telling you, once you've gone black, you won't go back. That's what they say. It's fucking true.
Once you go black and tan, you never go back, do you? Bit more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our last podcast.
Yeah. If you've never had a terrier, you will not get the joke. It's just people who have terriers basically are in a camp, and it's the most tribal thing in the world. It's not serious. It's not heartbroken, but everyone knows black dogs are the best. It's just the way it is, isn't it?
I've seen some black dogs, and they're not worth a wank, mate, I'll tell you that.
Anyways, come on. Tell me who you are. Tell me about Vermicure, because you're saying where were you?
So how did you get from sort of killing rats in people's gardens to Vermicure? I mean, that's a bit of a hop up.
It is a jump. You know what, Lex? It were nothing to do with pest control. I was just going out and obviously dispatching rats in gardens. Obviously, my fiance's mum, she was a sales rep for Rent-A-Kill many years ago, and she just said to me, she went, "You're doing it in gardens, why don't you incorporate into domestic homes and commercial sites?" And I'm like, I didn't have a clue about pest control. For the first year, I was just winging everything what come at me, and I thought, well, what do I do? And then I had to actually sit back, do a bit of learning on it, and then it just went from there. Just set up a name, obviously Vermicure, a good friend of ours told me the name, and it just stuck. And I'm just, like you say, 4 years, 3 months, I'm still here. Do you know what I mean? Still tackling it. And believe it or not, I do not dabble in bed bugs or cockroaches. I haven't even touched one in 4.5 years. And it just goes to show.
So I've got a question for you here. So you're mostly vertebrate, but of course you are also classically, I wouldn't say chemical free, but you are, let's say traditional control methods, and we'll get into that in a bit more in a second. Did you take your level 2 award, or have you needed to? Because if you're not doing much chemical control, did you ever take your level 2, or did you?
Yeah, so I'm RSPH level 2 in pest management. I did it with John Sage, believe it or not. The man is absolute crackers, but I tell you what, he learned me a lot on it. Do you know what I mean? People see me doing rats and stuff, and they go, "You're not qualified." I'm like, "What the fuck do you know? Trust me, I am qualified. I've been qualified for like 3 years." But I did when I first started, I did 2 online courses, and we know how everybody feels about them. Do you know what I mean? I thought I need to do proper RSPH. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know how I passed it because I'm thick as a plank of wood, but I passed it. Do you know what I mean?
Did you find it was a lot of value to be had? Because this is going to be a bit of a sidetrack, but it is interesting in the sense that traditionally your model is not that of most other pest managers that you would find around, and yet you still went down the route of doing the official qualifications, which is fucking brilliant. Love that. But I mean, why did you feel that you needed to do that? And I'm asking you this question because there will be others listening who want to get into pest management who are wondering what the value is in doing these things.
I think with stuff like that, obviously everybody wants a dog and kills rats. You see loads of people, but when I got into it, I thought I could go into an house and start dispatching rats in houses, but it's nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? And as a pest controller, I strongly believe you don't want to just kill everything. So I had to incorporate that, and I'm like, at the time I just wanted to kill everything, but you can't just put a dog anywhere. It don't work. Do you know what I mean? A working terrier, and it's like I've took my dogs obviously onto places, and I'm like, it's not just all about dispatching; it's about finding out how to do it. But I don't know. It's a bit mad, isn't it? It's unless you've got a terrier and you do it, then you'll never understand. But you have to incorporate obviously other methods like trapping, and I'm not keen on rodenticides, mate. I can't stand stuff, but you do have to use it sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
The point is, and this is what I'm getting at, because you see a lot of the time, and they crop up all the time, all these adverts. I will do free pest control on your farm. I will do free pest control. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to get at is at what point do you turn from being, a man with a dog who will go out and do something on the farm to a pest manager? What was the tipping point for you between those two? What was it? What was the point at which you felt that you were part of this community, this industry, rather than a man with a dog?
Like when I started posting, obviously on Facebook, I started getting a lot of like commercial people message me saying, because I've seen the terriers and stuff, and I thought, you have to get paid for it if you're going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I do a lot of farms as a hobby with terriers, but it was a turning point with, I was getting valuable clients coming to me and they're saying we could use your efforts and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? With terriers, but it was a bit weird how I got into it. It's a bit hard to say. Do you know what I mean? It's.
Tell you what is interesting.
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, I had a discussion with Sean Muller, who's commented about posting pictures of dead stuff, didn't we? And I find it very interesting that when you posted pictures and videos of the dog killing things, that you got valuable clients contacting you, because it popped up on LinkedIn the other day. Don't do it, it's unprofessional, blah blah blah. But I'm guessing what you're saying is you found the total opposite, that it's been good for business.
I think it swings in roundabouts with stuff like that. Obviously, with Yorkshire Rat Pack, with terriers, obviously farmers and stuff like that. I know Red Tractor Scheme and places, they want to see stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like you're putting something in place, but I understand with Joe Blogger, obviously, lives down the road. He don't want to see a rat getting killed and he don't want to see traps. With Vermicure, obviously, I've stopped putting dead rats in traps and stuff. I think I've come away from that a bit, do you know what I mean? But if I get called out to an house and I know that there's a rat in the living room, I'll just throw my dog in and I will record it. And to be honest, I've done network rail. I've done one of the biggest football clubs in obviously Yorkshire with me terriers, so I know it's getting a good attraction. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to swing. You've got to take it as it comes. Do you know what I mean? You're always going to get people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do this and that." It's the same with anything. Do you know what I mean? And I understand a lot of people don't like to see deceased stuff online and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's one of them. You always can scroll past it. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, with stuff like that though, with posting deceased stuff on Facebook, you know, lined up and stuff, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because you do get people messaging you, ringing you up and stuff like that, and yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah. And it is a really interesting sort of like turn in our industry a little bit, isn't it? Where we have almost gone full circle, where we had, you know, this was how pest management was done. You see these old fitted, like all old, you know, when the first cameras came out, the Victorian man on a bike with a string of rats around his like neck, big stick, and you know, a little air, you know, first air guns designed for dropping rats in sewers and stuff like that. And so with that, we've gone that from the rat packs and the big sticks and the rest of it, and then we had, hey, we got warfarin, hey, we've got this, we got that, and you know, we had that sort of like movement away from these traditional methods. And now we are starting to go full circle, and people are getting more engaged with the traditional methods of control, be that trapping or, you know, using rat packs. So how do you feel about that? I mean, is this you know, do you feel that you've had an impact in raising the visibility of it?
But yeah, because if I'm being honest, I've had multiple councils come to me. Honestly, I've had them ring me up, obviously message me, email me regarding putting me on their books with obviously dogs. Because obviously, I think rodenticides, I personally believe that it will start fading out. In time to come, we will get to that stage. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people are wanting it gone anyways, but will they ever get rid of it fully? I couldn't tell you, but I do think moving working dogs, incorporating into normal day pest control will actually aid a lot of places. Do you know what I mean? It's same with bed bug dogs, you know, them scent dogs where they can find them. I genuinely believe that it's just as good as that.
Hold that thought. What do you think of this, boys? Comes a week on Sunday.
The coiled spring of anticipation. Oh, you're getting a puppy.
That's a nice dog, is that?
Yeah. Getting a little Springer Spaniel a week on Sunday. We're going to have a go trying to teach it to find bed bugs, but I'm also going to try and teach it to find where rats and mice enter buildings, but not look for rats and mice.
It's a bit of a tricky one, that, you know, because obviously they go off at scent. And people, this is another thing. A lot of people, you see it on Facebook and places like that. A lot of people think getting a dog will just naturally find rats. They naturally find the scent of it, but you've got to put time and effort into a dog where it will want to. Do you know what I mean? I've got 2 terriers there that won't even get a cat. They're not bothered about chickens. They don't look. They look at cows, not even bothered about it. Do you know what I mean? It's all about teaching it, but it's how much you put into an effort with a dog. Same with anything, do you know what I mean? The time and effort. It's not as easy as what people think, though. You can get a dog and just go out and do stuff. It's nowhere near as easy as that.
Let's see. I'm pretty confident I can get it to bounce. There's not much I can't get it chewed out of, so it's bred right. You know, it's bred right. That's
instinct. But saying that though, Sean, I've seen some at Best dogs, some hard dogs go ratting and stuff like that, and they're not wanting to grab a rat.
Yeah, but you know why that is? Because you can go to the cat and dog shelter and pick up like loads of dogs that'll kill rats, but there's not many of them you can dig to. That's why you need a black dog at Lakeland, isn't it? Because they're only half
a dog. Some of the best Patterdale's Jack on them old Billies in that. Not worth a wag.
No. I'm just saying what everyone knows to be true. So leave it at that.
Lakeland is a baby. You don't need to get involved.
So, like, I'm trying to think here. Like, so what you said, like your vision for the future of pest management. We've had a couple of sort of like folks on before talking about their experiences with dogs, and although I think it's a fantastic tool, I still think that there are certain things that a pack of dogs cannot get into. So one of the questions I have for you is, let's say when you do have an environment, because you're only there, let's say a waste transfer site, something like that, you know, you're letting your dogs go over it. How do you ensure that you've done a full job? Because you can only catch the ones that you see, and you're only there for what was that, 5 or 6 hours. So how do you make sure when you're doing these sort of like big clear outs that you've got to all of the places where the rats are? Is there a trick?
You can't just hit it in one day. A lot of people think you can go out and get thousands. It's not about that, because obviously, like you've just touched on that, rats will be in pockets of holes where you'll never even see. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to move a lot of stuff when you're out with terriers. You can't just expect a dog to do everything. Do you know, as much as you want them to do. It's not about that. But like you say, you can't just tackle one thing, one place in a runner. It doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? You've got to move stuff, obviously. Waste sites, as an instance, I know quite a lot of people what do waste sites, but they have machines to move a lot of stuff. Do you know what I mean? And they're hitting it not just once, twice, 3 times a week sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Just to calm it down. Yeah, but obviously, when you're doing stuff like that, you've got to incorporate rat shooting and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You can't just...
I think the other thing as well is if you've got dogs out, you know off numbers, you know off the way they behave and whether you've cleared them out, because you might, agreements or not, Kieran, you might shift the skip and you might bolt 50 rats. Your dogs might get 10, 15, 20, and you think, right, so you know you've got to come back. It's never a case of clearing out 1,000. The only time I've ever seen us do that, we moved some chicken sheds. But this was one of the first time I've ever done chicken sheds. They went round with strawberry netting and canes, and they just netted it, lifted it up, and just literally cleared it out. But you're digging back, just following the lines, digging back. You're there all day, and you clear. And that's probably the only time I've ever seen us clear out, where you think, yeah, I've done like 90-95%. On farms, you just go. It's a constant battle, isn't it?
Yeah, we found. I understand with that, you're never going to control. You're never going to eradicate. Do you know what I mean? It's all about maintaining and controlling and stuff like that. But if I'm being honest, with my dogs in warehouses and stuff like that, I'm not there. They're not there to kill stuff. They're there to locate where a rat's gone in, because obviously their nose are 100 times stronger. It's like I've took on a couple of big commercial warehouses over in, where is it, Wakefield, and I could not find out where a rat had been. Honestly, I was there scratching my head. I'm thinking, how has this got in? I let Poppy out, and I tell you what, it took 5 minutes. She went round all sides, everything. And you know what they were doing? You know the support beams, what go like that down in the warehouse. The rats were travelling down, climbing up through cavities and dropping down there. Anyways, we've managed to find out how they were getting in. But yeah, they do able you a lot, honestly. But it's mad, isn't it? You see some stuff with them, but they can tell you a lot more than what you actually see.
Yeah,
love the fact. Sorry, I'm just all of this. Every time we talk about dogs, people are so passionate about their dogs. Yeah, they're so But of course, then we got so passionate about their dogs. People just, it's every time we talk about dogs, it just
look at that shot.
What makes it funny is as soon as you slag a Jack Russell or a Lakeland off, you know that there's someone who's got a Jack Russell or a Lakeland who's going to immediately jump to their defense, as much as if they slagged the fella off, I'd jump to them. Like, it's even. You can have like 3 lads doing rats, all with different dogs, and you'll get the same crack all day, won't you? It never gets boring.
Let me just tell you this, Lex, right? In my rat pack, there's more Lakelands than there are Patterdale. Let me just tell you that.
Well, which one catches the most rats?
I'd say Poppy. Bloody hell, she's had a lot. She's a Lakeland there, Sean. And Luciano's just commented, I've never seen a good Lakeland.
I've never seen one. They usually fight though, don't
they? You see shit, don't you? You just see shit, but Lakelands. 1 Lakeland to 4 Patterdales, I'll tell you now.
Every Lakeland I've ever seen has a tendency to fight each line. You might get the odd one that doesn't. But the only thing I've ever seen is that the fight, and when you dig to them, you had a higher percentage of jackers. Like, don't get us wrong, I've seen black dogs jack. Like, everyone has. Everyone's seen them jack. But I've seen a far higher percentage of Lakelands jack than black dogs. And I think I've only ever seen about 3 white dogs that you could sort of half dig to, and they're
Getting into that, mate. We know
See,
Patterdale's right. Patterdale's
there's a saying, Lex. See, Lex, there's a saying that a good terrier should be judged by when it's not seen, not by when it is seen. And when you take that standard, black dogs win every day.
Lex. Patterdales, black Patterdales tend to run off. Never mind over like that. A Lakeland's smarter. That's why they've used.
You're basically telling me a good ratting dog is akin to a Victorian child to be seen on there we go. I'm trying to say, like, you had your dog, you realised your dog was a good ratter, but naturally, did you get your dog thinking that was what you wanted to do?
That was the main reason. Yeah, that were honestly the main reason. That's what I want. I seen these, obviously growing up and stuff, you see these people go out doing ratting, you see videos and stuff. And I thought, I want to get into that. Because obviously I was doing a lot of ferreting and stuff like that, as a kid. But I was like, I want to get into ratting. I got a good dog from Johnny Poole up in Cumbria. And I tell you what, it's one of the best dogs I've ever seen. Honestly, on rats. Not bothered about anything else, do you know what I mean? But put it on rats, it's one of the best dogs I've seen. Don't get me wrong, is it best dog in country? No, never is, but in my eyes it is. But yeah,
dogs only got to keep one person happy on it, and that's
exactly, Sean. Do you know what I mean? I tried breeding it not too long. Obviously, I've got a pup out of it now. Don't get me wrong, she's a good dog, but when I bred her, I thought, I'm going to get a good dog like her, but it never happens. Never happens, because you're always trying to, how do you put it? You're always trying to make it as good as that dog there. But Patterdale's fucking... They need to ban that Patterdale name. Anyways, it needs to get on that. Like an XL woman.
The thing is, though, I promise you now, the first sign that you know that someone doesn't really understand terrier as much as, doesn't understand black dogs much as when they call them Patterdales. Like, as soon as someone says to me, I've got a Patterdale, I go, oh, whatever. Because I don't know anybody who I would consider good with dogs who actually refers to them as that. It's a black dog, a red bitch, a black bitch, a red bitch, whatever it is. It's just the colour and what it is. Because the real lads who are good with them, they do not care. A
lot of them call them fells, don't they, Sean? A lot of them, they call them fells. They're not even getting into all stuff like that. It's like, obviously, Lakelands and Patterdales are fells, aren't they? That's all they are, fells.
Fell terriers, yeah, that's it.
And people, they're only called them that is because they're up Cumbria, aren't they? That's where they're originated from.
If anybody, I just know from the lads who I know who I trust with them, that you can't even ask what the breeding is. It's weird, because if I said, what's that? Oh, it's a red dog to a black dog.
Yeah, black
that's
dog,
it.
Yeah.
They don't, yeah. As soon as you start hearing someone saying, oh, it's this line, it's that line, you just think, oh, you're just a fucking idiot.
Exactly. It's like that. A lot of people who go, oh, it's Outshire and stuff. Real people like that don't really ask about it. I don't do much. I don't do any digging. Do you know what I mean? It's just mainly ratting now, but I just love it. Honestly, yeah. I tell you this, I'd rather do a rat job over a wasp. Honestly, I'd rather do a rat job over a wasp job. Honestly.
Yeah, insects are boring on now.
What?
Insects are amazing. I've got a couple of wasp jobs on this weekend, and I'm actually quite looking forward to them. But there we go. So, I mean, the thing I'm getting at here is, again, the more and more we're finding this podcast is getting to a broader audience. And actually, there's a lot of people that listen to this, I've no doubt, that are not currently in pest management. They're probably peeking through the curtains and having a look and see what's going on there. And so this is probably fascinating to a lot of people. But the reality of it is just as you said, it's not so easy as getting a dog, pointing at a rat, winding it up like a clockwork toy and letting it sort of loose. It's a lot more involved with that. So, yeah. I mean, where do you, breeds aside and the rest of it, if you do want to go down this route of traditional pest management, physical pest management, where do you start? Where do you start? Do you start with you? Do you start with the dog? What do you do?
A lot of people, this is a mistake a lot of people do, right? And I've seen it for years now. They think getting a working dog off a good breeder and just going out and do it, it don't work like that. Like before I got a Lakeland, obviously I won't get a Patterdale, but like Lakeland, I did a bit of research on it. Do you know what I mean? They're not as hard as other dogs. I won't mention other dogs, but They're not as hard as them, but they're smarter, right? So I read a lot of books and stuff like that, on them to see what they were like. But every dog's different. Don't matter what breed it is, what it is, they're different. They all work in different things. It's like in Rat Pack there, Lex. We've got there's a dachshund doing ratting, right? And it will not integrate with the other. I swear to God, it will not bother. Good old Tony from Castleford. It will not really get into the mix. Right, it won't mark, and it's not bothered about that. But I tell you what, one of the best dogs I've seen for it scopes the outside, and it's catching rats like that, and you think the little bastard has just took one off my puppy, and it's fucking unbelievable. Honestly, different dogs work in different areas. Obviously, I've my good friend Brandon, he's got Patterdales that he just Patterdale mad, and I tell you what, them dogs are boom, boom, boom into it. Different dogs, different categories of what they need to do. Do you know what I mean?
So
I think you alluded to it earlier, though. Innit? The reality of dogs is you have to be willing to put a hell of a lot more hours into them than you're going to get out.
Exactly.
Every day you're at them, aren't you? That stock break and that time, that ability to. I was talking to a lad about it earlier on. Saying you've got to be able to hang your hat on them, haven't you? They've got to be that dependable.
Yes.
You can't be going and wondering.
It's like that. People think, right, you can just walk onto a farm or even in someone's garden, because I've done a couple of jobs with my mate from Ridex, Anthony, Pest Control. We've gone into gardens. When people keep chickens in back gardens and stuff, you need to know that your dog will not see a cat and go for a cat in someone's back garden. You need to know that, because some people don't want to put the chickens away, the free range. You need to understand that that dog can't go for chickens, and that dog knows that it shouldn't go for chickens. So it's all they've got to be livestock trained, and people don't understand that. They think getting a dog and just walking around streets and doing it's two different things. Do you know what I mean? It don't work like that. They've got to be. They can't go for other things. They've got to be solely focused on rats and finding rats. Do you know what I mean?
So you mentioned rat packs earlier. What? We've all seen the pictures, but what is a rat pack? Just a group of lads that turns up of a weekend to go down to a farm and throw their dogs in together? Is it more organised than that?
It's a lot more. It's a lot more. It sounds like obviously a rat pack. You think, they're just killing rats. Obviously, I've got a good, strong lads, and majority of them are pest controllers, so they understand. Obviously, I've got a couple of lads, because I'm always late to ride anyways, I turn up late, but they always scope the farm out. Or each day we've done school grounds and everything, obviously, after hours and stuff like that. They'll always scope what they need to do, or pictures, they'll always go pictures and videos, do you know what I mean? We need to do this, we need to do that. They'll always make a plan. People think, we've got no bit of permission or something like that, they can just go and kill everything. It does not work like that. It's not as easy as that. You've got to scope it. It's nowhere near as good as that.
So what I'm going to get at here is for those who are looking to get into this, or maybe wanting to expand their business to include this, finding a local rat pack, is that a good way to go? Is that a good way to sort of learn how to go with that? To be honest, Lex, a lot of rat packs are very discreet. You only really hear of a rat pack when it's when they've done the job, not before when they've done it, because that's when they'll post. Okay. Do you know what I mean? They won't go around and start perpetrating. Will come before this time. It don't work like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's very hard to get into a rat pack, believe it or not, lads, because most of the dogs have worked since they were 6 to 7 months old. Do you know what I mean? We've got Poppy. Poppy's obviously original there. She started doing it at 5 months old. We've got dogs that are coming in now, what are 4 or 5 months, only just got their adult teeth, but they'll be in that pack for the rest of their lives. Do you know what I mean? You can't just allow anybody in. You get a lot
though, don't you, where you'll see someone saying, I've got a terrier, I want to take it out, can I bring it out with you? And what they don't realise is, if that terrier fights and starts scrapping with their dogs, they can quickly bring in bad habits.
Exactly.
So in order to get you in that position, you have to, it's no good just buying a dog, and you've got to put the hours and time in. And if you do it, you'll get yourself in there. But it's not a quick in, is it? You've got to put your time and effort in.
So exactly. We get thousands of messages a year. I've just got a dog, can I come out with you? And it's not as easy as like you've just said then, Sean. We brought dogs out with ours, right? And dogs have started attacking ours, but I always I always step back me and judge everybody's dog, whether it's been in pack for like 6 years or 2 years or 2 weeks. I always judge a dog, and if it's nowhere good, like it's not bothered about ratting, it's more bothered about fighting and stuff. It's no good to me. That it's no good to anybody. Do you know what I mean? You're there to do a job. Yeah, you have a laugh and stuff like that, but it's quite serious and all. It's not just that. It's say if there's machinery, tractors or whatever, I don't know, you're in a warehouse, there's forklifts flying about. You've got to understand that dog knows what it's doing. You're not just looking at dog, you're looking at everything else. Do you know what I mean? Because it's quite serious, and people think you can just go into a farm warehouse and stuff and just let your dog run about. It's nowhere near like that. Even an house, obviously, when I let my dog out to go in an house and obviously dispatch a rat in someone's living room, I don't know, do you know what I mean? I don't just let my dog go in the house. I'll walk around and see if there's any glass on the table or out like that, because it's not, do you know what I mean? I've got to scope everything. Can't just let my dog run in someone's big mansion and like the stuff on the floor, or there's an expensive vase on side, do you know what I mean? Because if a rat goes under that table and knocks that vase over, I'm like, look, my liability's coming out, do you know what I mean? You've got to scope it and all.
So where are you going to take Vermicure?
Say that again, sorry, Sean.
Where are you going to take Vermicure? What do you want to do with it?
I could go a lot bigger, but I don't want to. I just want to level it out. I might get 1 or 2 people in, but I want to do more controlling the rats, obviously, in big areas, like on the books. Obviously, a lot for councils and stuff like that. Supermarkets outside, a lot of people put first thing of pest control is put boxes down, and they expect rats to go in it. It don't work like that. It fucking does me head in. Do you know what I mean? They're quick to throw poison down. I'm like, I'll put my dog in. That dog will tell it where it is. I'll come back on an evening and smoke it out. Done. And I've done that quite a few times on big supermarkets and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I can't. Obviously, a lot of rodenticides. People are first to put it down. They're like throwing it down like it's going out of fashion. Do you know what I mean? I can't stand it. It's unbelievable.
I do that. We have dogs, but I still do that. I'll be dead honest. I never lied to you.
Honestly, I can't. Me, Sean, I can't stand it. I go to job. I just took a job over in Halifax. Right, first thing he did, burrow bait, put poison down. I went with dogs. Me, obviously, they were too deep for dogs. Smoke wasn't hitting them. You couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you have to put burrow bait in, but you've got to weigh options up. I think it's too easy. It's like, sorry, go on.
I think the one thing I would say is, if you grow and you start employing people, then that's when dogs become, in my opinion, like what you're doing at the minute, becomes a bit harder, because all of a sudden you've got to find the time to go and do it, and you've got to be able to. It's fine when you're paying wages for yourself and you're living, but when you're trying to pay wages, make a profit, all of a sudden them jobs become a fair bit harder. Like Ellis, we got Ellis, a little black bitch there, and she's cracking, and he's out with it every weekend. She's a brilliant dog, she's steady, etc., etc. But trying to make it pay is really hard. That's why we've went for the spaniel, because I think I can make that pay easier than the terriers.
I can honestly say, I'm the rat on my daughter's life, that my terrier is bringing in money. I know what you're saying. Obviously, I know you've got to get the sites, you've got to get the houses. Obviously, in Yorkshire, that's all I'm known for. Obviously, ratting. I'm known for killing rats, so that's why no one really comes to me for bed bugs. Obviously, you might be known for different things. In my head, I think I can push that dog and I can earn money off it. But like you say, if you get 2 or 3. I know what you just said then. Will I get the jobs?
No, it's not that. What I'm saying is, if you take someone on, like, you've got to then get to a point where, so we've got deal with a bird now, right? But you've got to pay for the bird, you've got to pay for the food, you get the time off to do it, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you stand there and you think, right. And when you start looking at the cost of it, and that's why bird work is so expensive. So getting the people. And then you've got to get someone who's you've got to make a decision. Are you going to do the ratting, or is the person who's working for you? But then if you're doing the ratting, you can't find the work for the person. And we just found it incredibly. We would And I get you. If I was on my own, I could make money with it. But when you start employing someone, it gets difficult. I don't know.
You've got to weigh options of that, yeah. You've got to weigh options. It's like, obviously, my brother does odd jobs with me, but can I do it all on my own? I've done it for the past 4.5 years on my own. Do I want to get too big? Not really, mate. It's never come into my head. Do you know what I mean? I do enough to get by, to live, to save, and obviously feed my family and pay my mortgage and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's obviously a lot of people get into it and they just want to expand, but some people have different ways, don't they? They have the different business plans and stuff. But my plan is, will I get more people? I probably won't, Sean. If I'm being honest, I probably won't. I'll just stick to myself, knowing what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
This is the thing, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. Do you agree, Al? You get people who run a business because they think that's what it's supposed to be, but actually, the truth of it is, if you're happy doing what you're doing, then you're winning.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
It's like that. Yeah. It's like that. Like, obviously, I ain't got many commercials. I've got about 15 on books. And I've got 5 of them through ratting, obviously through using terriers, obviously without poison. But I don't know. I like domestic, mate. I like domestic jobs. I love domestic jobs. Anything to do. I know that your commercials, bread and butter, but I like the domestic. Obviously, finding out how they're getting a dog in someone's living room. How's it got in? Do you know what I mean?
So I've got a question, but there's also 3 questions in the chat that I want to sort of hit up first. So first 2 are from Rupert, which is, how many dogs have you got and what their ages? So what is your pack?
So obviously Rat Pack, it ranges up from some days from 4 to about 8. But obviously my dogs, what I've got now is obviously Poppy and Benny, mother and daughter. She's 6-year-old is Poppy. Been doing it since she was 5-month-old. As soon as she got her adult teeth, she was never as good as what she is now, right? She never marked. For the first year and a bit, for about a year and a half, she wasn't marking. She wasn't bothered about that. Other dogs were marking. She was just waiting on outskirts and picking them off. That's why her count ratio is quite high, with catching rats. She did that for about a year and a half to 2 years, honestly. But then she started marking. I don't know what clicked in her head, but she started marking. But we've got Penny there. She's good, but she's nowhere near as good as Mother. But she's still learning, do you know what I mean? Even at this age. She's 3-year-old, but she's still knocking them. Do you know what I mean? Knocking them back. But I would honestly say every pest control should have a dog outside of them. Just whether you're not killing it or not, killing stuff or dispatching, what should I say? You incorporate it. Whether it's
Wait a second. Would you trust 90% of pest controllers with the dogs? I fucking wouldn't.
Fucking hell. I'm glad you said it. They can't even look after themselves, the scruffy bastards.
I've got 2 dogs. I feel personally attacked there. It depends on whether or not you're seeing as a dog as a tool, an integral part of your toolkit. And as you said, that there is complexities to having dogs. But at the same time, I'm all for it. Get more people. If nothing else, as you say, it would make those that use rodenticides decidedly more, I wouldn't say skilled, but sort of cognizant of where they're putting and what they're putting it down if they've got a dog sitting on their shoulder when they are going around sites. Just maybe a thought. But there we go. But all of these things have a little bit of skill. Now, the other question that came up was this, which is, what's the rough percentage of rat jobs that you use your dog on? So out of all of the work that you do, how often is your dog used for that?
So if I average, say, 20 to 30 jobs a week, I'll say my dogs are out a good 10 times on them jobs. Probably more. On rat jobs, do you know what I mean? That they come out about 10 times on a job. You actually using them, do you know what I mean? Especially in gardens. I know. I did a job actually in Leeds for an estate agent. I knew we were a drain fault, so I thought, drain's about 50 metres away from property. I thought, I'll get my dog out. My dog marked under slabs right outside of it, and there were a nest under there. Rat had just run out. Do you know what I mean? They're good to tell you that there's rat activity. And I like you say, 10 times a week I use that dog, which is more than enough. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely, and as you say, there's more than just chasing them down like an Exocet missile and making them go and see Jesus. There's we have we have to like credit Neem for that every time. Sean and I have used it so often, but Neem Quinn, that was the best saying ever. But yeah, I mean, I think people have got a lot to learn about. As you said, Sean's getting his Springer in. I still think he should have gone for a GSP, personally. They're better than Springers. They mold better.
Honestly, I would have happily had something like that, but I think, and Kieran will get this, you've got to have the right line. So it's no good just saying, I want a German short-hair pointer and going and finding one on the internet and thinking that they're going to do the job. You have to have that bloodline going through them. And I know the bloke who bred this. I know what it's like. I know what it's capable. Well, I know what mother and father are capable of, and you're starting with the right stuff. If you don't start with the right stuff, you're fighting an ever. It's like trying to kill wasps with Vulcan, isn't it? You're starting with the wrong stuff.
Vulcan,
No, you're not starting with the wrong stuff. You're just doing it wrong. So, there we go.
It's like that. He's mad Vulcan. It's mad stuff that.
Yeah. Tell you what though, because we'll end up running out of time if we don't get to it. You've been quite vocal about associations. Don't like them. Why?
Mate, I don't agree with it. If I'm being honest, I know it sounds daft. Why? You can look in a magazine and get CP.
Can you be a bit more specific? What is it you don't agree with about trade associations?
Al's on one.
Listen. I can't stand it. You can. I know it sounds daft. Obviously, we're on a podcast. You can get CPDs from podcasts, CPDs from magazines. I could just buy a magazine or get a magazine and get free CPD points. Yeah. Accumulate over a year. I might not even read it. So that's why I'm like, CPD points to me. I can't stand associations. I know it sounds daft. Will I have to get in one? Probably later down the line. I probably will do. Do you know what I mean? I will do, but.
CPD and associations aren't the same thing because you have BASIS, which is not an association at all. You have MPTA, which doesn't have its own CPD. It uses BASIS and Sean's British Pest Register. And then you have BPCA that runs its own. So is it the associations that you don't like or the mandatory CPD and crew that you don't like?
The crew's a bit different, isn't it? But I don't... The associations, I think it's bullshit. I can't stand it. I genuinely think it's bullshit. I don't understand it. It's like some sites won't touch you because you're not with BCPA or you're not with MPTA, and I'm like, how is that going to judge me sorting your rat problem or sorting your moth problem out? You can't. And they're going, oh no, you need accreditations and stuff. How's that going to make me any better? It's not going to make me any better. Do you know what I mean?
You've got to I'm going to play the card here, and I'm not going to talk BPCA. I'm going to talk trade association.
Al's got the ump. Look at him. Look at him. He's good red. Go on, Al. Go on.
Test me, Lex. Come on, lad.
Right. Come on. Let's have this. No, okay. So let's talk about from inside the inside the industry. You might say, what have the Romans ever done for us? What have the trade associations?
They built straight roads. That's what they did, mate. But it's not built on straight roads.
Straight road, sanitation, wine, glad touring, either way. But so we've got the trade association, and from the inside, you might say, what do they do for us? And arguably, we could get on with our job well without them. But you've got to think then, what about the person on the outside? What about the people who look into our industry? They have no idea about our industry. And how do they know what good looks like? How do they distinguish you from the rogue trader down the road from, Jerry, the rat basher who lives 2 doors down from that? Yeah. They can't. It's a very difficult thing to do. So one of the great things that the trade associations do is by setting a minimum set of standards and trying, and okay, sometimes it's not perfect, but both of them try to make sure that their members live up to those sets of standards, means that people that come into our industry, if they know that they use one of those associations, they will be getting someone who ostensibly should be at that minimum level, and there's an element of trust then by proxy given to that pest manager within our industry. So they do a lot for us, not just sort of like for us as individuals,
the wider community of pest control,
but the wider community of pest control, by legitimizing us, by giving us credibility to those who just don't know better. And at the end of the day, all 2 of these organizations, they're member led, and you've got to make sure But if you don't like it, it's all well and good saying, bullshit, not the way I want to go, but it's not going to change how they do things. The only way you do that is by being involved. And you get involved and you can sit in the boardroom and say, bullshit. And people say, okay, tell me what's better then.
Yeah, but
and so that's
when you've got Nuggets staff at Nuggets like that, they don't even do the background checks, BCPA. I'm not saying no on that.
They absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I do think NTPA? They are doing more.
MPTA.
Yeah, whatever, MPTA, whatever. They're doing more now, a lot more, and I think that's good. Do you know what I mean? They're offering a lot more, and I think.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because I sort of stick in the middle between the two ears, don't I? Like, I'm not an association guy. I'm never going to be on a committee. They're not going to. I'm like you, Kieran. They're never going to ask me on a committee. It isn't going to happen, you know.
Fucking hell, yeah.
But the reason why
I've asked you on my committee more than once.
Well, I shit my hands and clap, wouldn't I?
Don't say you haven't been asked.
But I'll tell you why I like it. Because if it wasn't for the associations and it wasn't for the CPD, if you look through every single comment tonight, every single person on there, I would have had no interaction with them at all. If it wasn't for that. Brian O'Donnell, I met him at Pest Tech. I'll go through them. Hugh Radfat, I met him through doing this, through CPD. Wayne Gardner, met him through doing this. Rupert, never met him. I know him. Yeah, Hugh the Clown. That Kieran called the Clown. He spat his dummy out. Sean Muller, met him through the MPTA. Luciano, met him through CPD. Rupert, you can just go through them. And I've met loads of people who have went on to help me. That's why I do it. And, you know, I think I try to imagine it without associations and without CPD. And I just feel like I would be on my own and I still wouldn't know an awful lot. I feel like I've learned a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just very quickly, my role, I now look at how we do pest management around the world. It's not just the UK now, it's around the world. And there are countries, even in Europe, that don't have a particularly strong, they don't have particularly strong sort of like association or body or membership or anything like that, or any CPD. And for them, when changes come about, they have no way of influencing that decision. There's no unified voice. There is no way to sort of like have their say. So they definitely do. I mean, and again, the associations aren't for everyone, but realistically speaking, there is something you can take away from all the associations if you wanted to, if you were so inclined. There is absolutely something in each one of those, both of those, that will benefit you and your business in some way. There we go, soapbox off. But I'm just telling you, in the UK, we don't have licensing. It's all voluntary. I would say that the UK is easily within the top 10 sphere of competence for pest management in the world when we're looking country by country. And the weird thing is most other countries that sit within that top 10 ranking have a licensing system which is then adhered to and audited and the rest of it. In the UK, it is all voluntary. It's all independent. Yeah. We have our own sort of like, we are self-stewarding through CREW, through our associations. And if it wasn't for those, you know, two different bodies, trade associations and our stewardship groups, we wouldn't be in the top 10. We would literally be the OK Corral.
They do, but to be honest, they push the industry more, don't they? That's what they're there for. Yeah. They're there to push it. I just don't like how I'm a big hater on stuff like this. How one association can judge your price of your business. And we obviously, I'm not going to say which one it is. How much is it going to be for a year? What's your turnover? The fuck do you need to know about my turnover? You either got a set price or you want. That's why I like, what is it, MPTA or something? I'm
not going to tell you which one it is, but the other one does this.
Yeah, fucking, we won't get into that. But MPTA, obviously, they push it out. Do you know what I mean? They give you a price and they tell you get all this for it. As simple as that.
I'll tell you why I this is how I see it. I think to myself, if you, and I'm not trying to talk you into join association, it makes a little difference to me.
Sean,
you know,
you've got a fly flying around and you're a pest controller. What the fuck's
it's
going on?
proper annoying. You're no good pest controller, do you? I've got an annoying fly. Yeah, but I think to myself, if you don't join, like, what will happen? You'll continue doing what you do, and you will benefit from your hard work. However, if you join and then, I don't know, they say, listen, we've never had anyone talk about terriers and rat packs and things like that. Do you want to come down to Pest Tech? And so you go down to Pest Tech and you meet some people, and then all of a sudden they'll say, you'll be talking to someone who's like, never done that before. All I do is bed bugs. And it turns out he's 2 hours down, he's an hour down the road from you. And he passes you work and you pass him work. And then you'll get some young lad who's sitting there being an employee who's like, I want to do what Kieran's doing. I want to do what Sean's doing. And there'll be some little weirdo that wants to do what Alex is doing, like playing with insects, but we don't talk to them. We just
not for me that. Yeah. No, like you say, do I need to join one? Because it might aid me going forward. Probably do. When I say I don't like them, it's a bit biased, is that? I shouldn't say that because I don't. They've never done that to me, so I can't slag them off. It's just what I've seen and what I've heard and stuff like that. Do I need to join one? Will it aid me? Will they offer me courses where I can progress in my career? Probably, yeah. But whether I do it now or later, I probably do it later. Do you know what I mean? But I'm a strong believer on that. Obviously, I do need to be in one. I personally think it, but I can't justify paying that money for it. But then it aids me. I'm a tight bastard.
It's from Leeds, isn't he?
Generally, like, I just want to put this sort of like a myth to bed here, and I'm not going to keep up. This is not. We're not here to talk about trade associations, but NPTA has a fixed price, absolutely. BPCA has a price based on your turnover, and that has been a bone of contention for a long time. But the idea is generally speaking, if you've got a larger organisation, you're going to be using more of the benefits. You should pay more in to cover that. If you're a smaller organization, you're going to turn over less, you're going to be using less of the benefits, blah, 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 blah. But with that, if you look at the membership subs, none of them ever exceed 3% of your annual turnover. So actually the reality of it is it's only 3%. And if you don't have enough wobbling about at the end of the year to afford
hang on a second, because we've had this conversation and that's unfair. Because this is my... Because if you turn around and say, listen, it's a percentage of your turnover, okay, no bother, that's fine, as long as it's the same percentage for everybody. So in the tax system, the more tax you earn, the higher the percentage you pay. In terms of associations on the BPCA's front, the more you earn, the less you pay. So Rentokil will pay 0.0001% or whatever it is.
No, it's nowhere near that low. It's nowhere near that low. I'm not going to go into the actual numbers.
What will Rentokil pay? Because the Rentokil's turnover is like however many billion, and I guarantee you 10 grand for the year. Whereas for me, I think I was looking at paying about 2.5 grand, and I'm thinking, well, Rentokil's not 5 times bigger than me, are they? I haven't got 10 employees. Oh yeah.
Okay. But it's not Rentokil, it is Rentokil. I'm not going to break it down into the structures of this, as in, like, it's only their pest control part of it. And at the same time, the numbers are going up, but there has to be a cap. You can't turn around and basically say, because at that point, the BPCA and the Trade Association, you just, what could you possibly do with that? There was a whole working group done on this. If you want to speak to the BPCA about this,
They need to just offer courses and that's it. Just offer courses like that. You pay for it, done. You know what I mean? Crew are fucking changing all these legislations and that. Fucking glue boards, mate. I can go on Amazon, right? And put an insect glue board. It's a rat. It's just changed its name on it. But I have to go and submit it to government to use it. Fucking shite. Honestly.
BBC and Crew and MPTA didn't ban glue boards. That was the government banned glue boards.
Yeah, but they've obviously took statistics. They're hard to take statistics, aren't they? They can't just make a judgment on it. They had to go and
No. Literally, there was a private...
Watching this was horrific, wasn't it, Al? It was horrific. Yeah.
What was horrific?
Everyone thinks that the glue board thing, everyone thinks that I kick the BPC. I don't. I just say what I think. But that being said, they did try their hardest with the
What,
Baboo
to
Boys
keep it? So we never heard that. Me as a pest control company, I never heard that. You just think obviously trade bodies and stuff. You think, well, they should have done more, but it's like I've never really used glue boards, so I can't really get onto it. But you, like Sean just said, BCPA were there to. They were saying no, we need it. Do you know what I mean? But we never heard that. We never heard them conversations. Do you know what I mean?
Two things. Number one, if you remember, would have got an email. Number two, two, there was a huge amount of sort of like probably the BPCA and the MPTA put things online. So the MPTA ran a forum through the late John. If anyone remembers John, John Hope, that used to work for the MPTA, he ran a forum. He basically did all of these things. Exactly. He ran this for me, invited everyone. He put adverts out in newspapers. He put adverts out on the forums. He put emails on web blasts and said, turn up to talk about glue boards because government is asking us our opinion on this. The PMA, the Pest Management Alliance, which is MPTA, BPCA, and CIEH. Yeah. I think, and I may be wrong, but a single person turned up.
Right.
And if it
so
wasn't a
we
single
never
person,
heard of that.
it was only two.
No one's ever heard of stuff like that, Lex. So it's like,
did you not remember? Could you not remember?
You don't need to. You shouldn't be right. This is right. You shouldn't.
It's like it is a bit like me complaining that I don't know what's going on in the Yorkshire Rat Pack when I'm not a member of the Yorkshire Rat Pack. In it, a little bit.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, but you should not even. If they're perpetrating something out like that, right? Why should you be a member just to say, well, hang on a minute, we actually use it? Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Just because I'm not a member, why can my company not have a say? Do you know what I mean? Obviously,
yeah, but I agree with you.
Obviously, it's mad, isn't it? Because obviously, I know a lot of people use supermarkets, don't they? You're right, and they get rat problems. It's easier to put glue boards or a terry around it than it is. Do you know what I mean? But
I think you're right on that, because I think that one of the complaints I have is you can't say that you're speaking for the whole industry and then not include the whole industry. So if there probably should be some way of them getting that message out better. Now, I understand from Al's point of view and the association's point of view, they've put posts out, etc., etc. I think this is, for me, this is why the MPTA looks like it's winning at the minute, because I thought the MPTA was incredibly good under Steve Hallam. I don't know if they're doing any more or any less now, but they're communicating it a lot better. And you picked up on it and you said you can see that it's a better thing. There's a better feeling.
They're progressing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Used to be just BCPA just pushing. They used to push loads of stuff out. Now I see on LinkedIn and stuff like that, MPTA are pushing a lot of stuff out. And I obviously, I'm like you, Sean. I don't really like associates. I think if you qualified, you've done it. But I'm more drawn to them. Me as a person, what I see stuff, I'm like, I want to.
Oh no!
It's
me and Al now do a pitch. Al's going to do a pitch for the BPC, and I'll do one for the MPT.
Go on.
We'll see which one you're going to join. Al's going to go first after 3, 1, 2, 3.
No, Al's not going to go first, because Al's not going to get shanghaied because you're going to strawman argument off whatever I say you'll just disagree with. So Sean's going to go first.
Sean goes first.
I'm going to follow him.
Go on, then.
I'll go first.
Go on.
I think it's going to cost you 180 quid to join. I think as a result of it, you'll be made aware of courses that are there for you. You will give your customers the belief and the knowledge that you are committed to the industry. I think that's often what customers are looking for. I don't think there's any pressure on it, and I think the people who are a member of the MPTA, the other members, would be more aligned with your, not all of them, but a lot of them would be more aligned with how you think. That's how I see it, and that's why we're members of the MPTA. What will you get out of it? If I was to say, I can't tell you what you will get out of it, but I'll tell you what I'll get out of it. So, Hugh, I speak to him all the time. I'm more than comfortable to ring up the MPTA and say, what's the crack with this? And I get a straight answer out of them. I get a straight answer, and it's usually based at the level where I am at. And it's not the BPCA. Go, Al, go.
Join the BPCA. Although we argue about the price, it is, they have a model, they're transparent about it, it is there, it's always been a bone of contention. Let's put that to bed and get past it. But you join the BPCA instantly. They will make sure that all of your paperwork, all of your standards, they will help you get through the BN EN 1336 auditing standard, which used to be the old European CEPA standard, is now being brought back in-house. So you will hit that standard. They'll help you get over that. It's not an audit, as people believe. It's an assessment. They'll get you over it. And as soon as you hit that assessment as part of your membership, you'll get put onto the Trustmark scheme, which is this government qualified, almost like, certification, government endorsed quality scheme. There's a Find a Pest Controller tool on their site, which is regularly used and endorsed by a lot of council members. So if you've got your company profile on there and someone says, I need a pest controller in Yorkshire, your name will come up and they'll be able to find you through that, not just through Yell. There's the BPCA Quest, which is very similar to the MPTA one. It's all of the health and safety and legal and tax advice that you can get from that. There's the press releases. So actually you do get informed when there is a webinar or when there is a forum around important topics within our industry. There's a huge document library of templates, ranging from trend analysis all the way through to just treatment reports, or how to do root cause analysis, or how to do any of these other things. All of these templates that you find yourself using every day, there is a version of that there. There's a library of legislation, which is a quick look up. So if you ever find yourself like you need to do something, job adverts there you get, because part of your EN 366, you'll get a CQMS health and safety certification. That in itself is probably worth a good couple of £100, which means that you get that for free. So already you're saving money on top of the money that you've spent. Do I need to go on? There's member benefits ranging from training to using third-party companies that the BPCA use that you'll then have a discount to use. Not to mention this real push that the BPCA has with the MPTA to represent you in government, to try and make sure that these changes in regulation are heard by the right people, so we are not hit with these things as it goes forwards. I'm going to stop here, but that is just literally a third of the things that we have for that. Yes, and of course the MPTA has templates. I'm not bloody, you asked me to sell the BPCA, not to do a side-by-side fucking analysis of this, Sean. Piss off. Like Jesus wept. We need loads. Like this is
now, to be honest,
now. We need to stop this like bloody tribalism.
They
like,
offer different things, don't they? They offer different things. Obviously, one's with obviously turnover, and one's obviously not. They've got a set price. They work different ways. I understand that. Do I need to get in one? Probably going down the line, because I can't be asked doing a course every 5 years. I know I keep stating that I will do a course every 5 years, but I might as well.
I'll be dead honest with you, Kieran. I'll be dead honest with you. I think you should join when you want to join. Don't let anybody.
Yes.
Don't let anyone push you. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll go into it and you'll think this isn't for me. But I think when business goes, at some point you'll be like,
I need to. You know that fucking obviously Basis Prompt. I joined them when I first set up. I joined Basis Prompt. Fucking hell, mate. They are shit at keeping CPD points. I'm like. I'm ringing them up. I'm going, what the fuck are you on about? I've just been to Pest expert down there. I'm just giving you 20 points. Oh, it's lethal that. Anyway, I need to quieten down and end up getting sued, mate. Fucking hell.
Right. Last thing of this is actually, I don't care which one you join, just join one. Obviously, I'd love it if you joined the one that I liked, and Hugh and Sean would love it to join the one that they liked. But the point being, join one and join the one that fits you best. But the last thing you should do, and all of us should do, is to sit there and be like, they're dickhead. Oh, he's gone. You're a dickhead because you're not part of my gang. You're not in my sort of like group, because they're both those associations are trying to push the industry forwards in a good and positive way. And you're only going to trip over each other if we spend all of our time and energy.
He has a question which has been puzzling me for a little while. Oh, I've lost Kieran. So actually, it's a great question for you, Al, and this has been going through my brain for ages. There has definitely been an us and them attitude towards associations. Are you BPCA? Are you MPTA? Which almost seems a little bit sort of negative and maybe detrimental However, if competition makes us better, is the us and them thing not good, that there is a little bit of competition between the two associations to get better? And how would you balance that?
Three things. A rising tide lifts all ships. Okay, I am more than happy that we all do something fantastic. And yeah, competition does breed adversary, does breed struggle, does breed advancement. But sitting there and basically slagging someone off is not competition. That is trying to, you don't make your light shine any brighter by putting someone else's light under a bucket, do you, at the end of the day? So that's not competition. Like, shit canning your adversary is not competition. Doing better than them is. So do better, but don't sit there and just take the piss.
All right, listen to this, right? This is what I can't do. I know I'm going off subject here, but pest controllers going on LinkedIn and Facebook slagging other pest controllers off because they're fucking. I see it all the time. They're putting fucking boxes out, right, and going, it's not clean. A rat does not like a fucking clean box. I'm telling you now, does not like a clean box. What do you think it's in a 5-star hotel? Stop going on Facebook and LinkedIn and slagging other pest controllers off. We know they do shit jobs. Don't let them talk shit. Do you know what I mean? Just keep it to yourself. Take the site over and done. That's it. As simple as that. Slagging other companies off, saying, "Oh, they're not doing this and that." They keep. I see it on Facebook. They're slagging Vermicure off. Vermicure's in 90-something different countries. Multi-billion-pound company. Could not care less about Joe, who lives in Wetherby, shotting off 50k a year. You know what I mean? Just do what you need to do, and that's it. No one cares about the box. Do you know what I mean?
Al taught me this, actually, and I didn't know it. And he said, "Do you know why people pick on the negatives that they see rather than the positives?" I'm sure it was you that told us this, Al. He said that it's in nature that if you walk into a room that you would spot the danger. So it's actually intrinsically within us to look for the negatives. But some people never matured and realized that you can actually spot the positives. I say this all the time. If you know what Rent-A-Kill do shit, right? If you can see it, don't worry about that because you're beating them at that bit. You've got to beat them at the things that they do well. So you look at them and you go, right, well, they're not doing this very well, but they've still got the job. Like, I can do better at that bit. I know I've got that bit. Why have they got that job and why have I not? And they're like, because the paperwork's better, because this is better, because that's better, because they sell better, and you're like, right, that's where I need to get better. So it's pointless kicking the living daylights out of someone to make
people do it all the time. They do it all the time, and they go, this is another bane of my life, right? You go on Facebook, right? I'm big on Facebook. I love Facebook, right? Anyways, they're going, Rent-A-Kill charging 400 quid for a wasp thing. They've just got the job and someone's just paid for it. You're doing fucking 4 jobs to their 1, you daft bastards. Do you know what I mean? It's all about marketing. And people don't understand it. They're going, yeah, we're cheapest around. No one gives a fuck if you're cheapest around.
Yeah.
Sales is sales. Do you know what I mean? And business does not work of you doing a cheap job. Don't work like that. And I've actually upped my prices. I've said to them, I'm like, I'm not lowering prices. I had the landlord earlier, when we were 2 days ago. Oh, you're a bit dear. I said, no, not a problem. Rank estate agents up. That's my set price. I'm not gonna bow down on it. Why? Because I know it's a bad job. I'm gonna have to get more people in to clear it loft. It were a loft clearance, so I'm not gonna budge on it. The estate agent rang me back and went, Kieran, we've got more of a connection with you than the landlord, and the landlord's paying them money, right? Anyways, turns out landlord come back to me. Just carry on what you need to do. And I'm like, there's no point. Do you know what I mean? Like, doing cheap on a job don't make you at best. Makes you shit. And you're trying to undercut other companies. You shit. That's it, done. Sorry about that. I ranted a bit then.
That's all right. I think you've pretty much said exactly what I said in another way, which is if you want to show that you are better than the competition, be better than the competition.
Exactly.
By showing that you are good. You don't have to do it by dragging them down because it just brings the whole industry down. When you
people
sit there
are undercutting, Lex. They're undercutting people. It's like wash jobs. There's a lad in Leeds doing 45 quid. I'm like, if you're comfortable with doing that, do what you need to do. My prices aren't doing that. Do you know what I mean? 75 to 80 quid. I'll do 2 to every one. I couldn't care less. I'll do 1 to every or 2. I couldn't care less. It works for you. It works for me. Stop slagging everybody off. Do I get a connection with a lot of pest controllers? Nah, do I? I couldn't care less what they're doing. I'm focused on me and getting my family money, and that's it, done. I've been through, and I tell you what, right? I've been through 2 to 3 worst months of my business career. Obviously, Google went down. I used to rely a lot on Google, but now I'm like, I just do what I need to do. That's it. I've got no reason to go to a site and go, you've done shit there. It's not about that. It's about, and if there's a pest controller and I'm taking it off, like I've gone to a site and they're going, you've just took that site off us. I'm like, it's not about me taking it off. I just say you need to do this and this. I don't slag them off. I ring them up direct. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's good. But yeah. A lot of people are going, oh, I've just took this. They go, I've just took this site off Rent-A-Kill. Fuck me, mate. It's 40 quid a month. You think they're bothered about that? They couldn't care less. I'm on 20 minimum now. I couldn't care less about your 40 thing for the pub. I could not care less. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. What you've got? You've got 100 at 40 quid. I've got 10 at fucking 120.
I want to bring a guest on to talk about the way the big boys look after key accounts, Al. I would love to talk about that.
You need to, mate. I'll watch that one. Trust me.
Yeah. They have a different mindset, don't they?
It's all about business.
I think it would be very difficult to get them on because it is a completely different world. Because if you think about it, for a lot of the servicing companies, or for the Rent-A-Kills, Burgos, Ecolabs, now Orkin, Anti-Cemex, and the rest of it as well, pest management is just a small part of a very large package that they offer. And I was only saying earlier, it would be wonderful to actually see some of these SLA agreements that other, maintenance or gardening, or I'm trying to think landscaping, all of these other sort of like service industries that feed into the mechanism that is society. How do they approach these contracts compared to how do we, as pest managers, approach these contracts? Because I think we're in the dark ages. I think we're truly and royally effed that we apply a contract theory and a negotiation tactic that we have stolen from the wrong era, and we haven't evolved past it.
Yeah
They're obviously doing something right. They're doing something right. I'll give them that. They're doing something right.
You just got to work out.
Slagging them off and slagging other national companies off are talking shit. There's a reason why they've progressed. And you're still sat in your mum's box room. Done. Simple. Do you know what I mean? It's simple as that. 90-something different countries, Alex, are doing something right, aren't they, mate? Do you know what I mean? I've
literally just Googled what is the share price of Rent-A-Kill Initial PLC. £350 a share. That's a phenomenal sum. That is.
If you want share in Vermicure, it's £3 a pop.
That's such a weird number. Like when you set up, are you a like limited company then, or are you just going to sell out shares?
I'm just floating about me, Lex.
just floating about. Okay. Give us £3, I'll give you a funny pen. That's it. That's it. Okay, we're getting to the end of this now, so we got a couple of minutes left. So we're going to do the classic end of show couple of questions, not the classic 3, but the one that comes before that, which is, Kieran, do you have a question for me and Sean? Something that you wanted to know, something about the industry. What? You got a question?
What do you think of Cilantro and Armonix, Lex, Sean? What do you think about that? Because I put a post on Facebook, and I know Lawrence obviously said he broke it because I've got a big job, but I need to burrow a bit. Only thing I need to burrow a bit on that site because obviously wildlife and stuff. But I was talking to him, we were like, well, I can't give a certain thing. Will it kill something? He couldn't give me the right thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, and then obviously he mentioned Domestos has 99.9%. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, well, what's the statistics? Do you know what I mean? I want to see figures. I know you're saying it on Facebook and stuff, but burrow baiting with Armonix and Cilantro and obviously feeding that where cattle and stuff like that, would it kill something? Would it? What are the statistics?
So,
Would it kill a dog? Will it kill a cat? Will it kill a bird? Do you know what I mean?
so I'm going to take this down. I'm not going to talk about products. I'm going to just talk about
Yeah.
cholecalciferol, okay, just in general. So
Yeah.
no products here, just the active. Cholecalciferol is vitamin D. How it functions is it causes hypervitaminosis within the body, which causes calcium to move from the bones and from the nervous system to places where it shouldn't, such as the blood and the liver and the lungs and the heart. This, generally speaking, is not a good thing, and it is not conducive with the survival of that animal. But when that vitamin D opens those gateways, when it creates that scaffolding for that calcium to bind to the places where it shouldn't be, it breaks down. So on primary toxicity, yeah, it's pretty toxic. But on secondary toxicity, it's not there, because
Not there.
by the time it's done the thing that makes it toxic, it's broken down, it's been metabolized, and it's being flushed out of the system. So although we can never say that nothing is truly safe, nothing is safe.
Yeah.
We're using things designed to sort of like drop animals. But the risks of secondary poisoning with cholecalciferol compared to the AVKs is significantly lower. Now, the risks of primary poisoning with cholecalciferol compared to the AVKs is a little higher, because unlike the AVKs, which have a antidote to them, which is just either a shot of vitamin K and tablets for a significant period of time, there is a treatment program. So it's not like you can do absolutely nothing. There are things you can do. You can take steroid shots, you can stay out of the sun. There's a whole load of things that you can do in order to mediate those issues. The big thing is it's all, number one, the poison is everything's a poison. Cucumbers are poisonous if you eat enough of them.
Yeah.
Jelly babies are poison if you eat enough of them. The point is the dose makes the poison.
So
different things. So with that, gram for gram, things like difenacoum, wildly more toxic. Things like difenacoum and bromidilone, less so to companion animals. The point is never assume that anything is going to be safe. Assume that everything is going to be a risk. And at that point, never put yourself into that position where that risk becomes a reality.
This another one, right? This is another one, another question, right? When people say burrow baiting around buildings, how far do you go? Because I just took a block of flats on 16 stories in Halifax, right? I've had to burrow bait because they're coming through they're quite deep holes, but it's all to do with cabling and stuff. Obviously, proofing's been recommended. They're going to do that, but this is like 5 meters away from the building, right? How far do you go?
No,
Billy, stop talking.
You basically. You've mentioned three things there, three different use patterns: open area, burrow baiting, and in and around buildings. Okay, so open area, now you can only use cholecalciferol for open areas. There are no AVKs registered.
Is that like what's obviously open areas? Is that like what's the difference in open areas?
So, getting this, especially if you want to see all of this, you can go onto the crew webpage, download the Lotus Codes of Best Practice, and they actually give these definitions there. But from memory, and for the love of God,
can I just point out as well? Sorry to interrupt, Dal. If you do your CPD, 3 of the points that you have to do this year are involved in this. This is why CPD is important. Boom.
Right. So, let's start from the back going forwards. In and around buildings is a population of rodents that is challenging, that is either within the fabric of the building or is challenging the exterior of that building. If you have a ditch work and you can show that those rodents are moving from the ditch work into the building or into the outskirts of that building, are presenting a challenge to it, that is in and around that building. You obviously can't take boxes and put them the other side of a car park when you can't prove that the rats the other side of a car park are moving all the way across to challenge.
So it's all about movement and stuff.
The distinction between open area and in and around building is largely around movement and showing that the risk of the rodents are to a static structure, of which that is clearly or unclearly, depending on where you look at it, defined in that code of best practice. Open areas, generally speaking, are things like parklands, waste dumps, not waste transfer station, but sort of like landfill sites, open areas, parks, golf courses, things like that. Things where there is no static structure necessarily to be defending, no points of human interest. Burrow baiting, of course, is something completely different. That's when you take your bait and you stuff it into the hole, and that can be done in a burrow that conforms to, if you've got one that says in and around a building, and you can burrow bait anything that is challenging that building. But you can't use something that says in and around buildings and stuff it down a burrow unless it specifically says on the label fall down burrows.
Right. Listen, right, let me just finish. Why has Sean not got one of them Beauties and Beasties t-shirt on?
Because he's just come from the gym, that's why.
No excuse. No excuse. No excuse.
Yeah. So just quickly though, Kieran, if you go down the Harmonix route for burrow baiting, here's my advice to you, because we've done a bit with it. And the difference between burrow bait with Cilantro to using wheat bait that we found. What we found was that you can literally put they'll tell you to put 3 sachets down. We were putting 120-gram sachet down, push it back as far as you can. So get a little stick, or we use the tube and shove it back, lock it. And then when it's kicked out in 2 days' time, when you go back, don't rebait it, just reblock them.
Just block it up.
Because what we were finding was that because they can't, so when you eat cilantro, it shuts them down. So within 12 hours, it stopped them wanting to feed within 24 hours of dead. And what we were finding was that whereas with wheat, you're putting it in, they're eating it, etc. And you're feeding them like 2, 3, 4 times to get that to work. When you bang Harmonix down, smack it in, black it up, each one of them sachets is probably going to kill 2 rats, because it's about 13 grams per large rat. But obviously, as you're well aware, they're not all large rats. You're killing different size ones. We work on about 2 rats. And if you've got 20 burrows and you put 20 sachets down, by my reckoning, if they're all kicked out, you've eaten enough to kill 40 rats. Well, you know as well as I do, that's a lot. So what we were finding was you could bait your burrows, and if they'd all get kicked out, you could go back and bait them again. So you went from 20 to 40 sachets that have went down. But if you just fill them up the second time, you'll come back and maybe 2 burrows have been kicked out. With 2 more sachets, block it up, job done. It is a lot more, it is a lot faster acting, and you'll get on top of a burrow baiting job in like 2 or 3 sessions. That being said, you've got to be absolutely adamant that they can't kick it out, because they'll say that it's so much per kilo of dog. But when we were talking to what's he called? Used to be chairman of crew, Alex?
Alan
Buckle. What he was telling us was that when they test it on dogs, they're only allowed to kill, I think it's like they can only use beagles, which are laboratory dogs, and they know that different types of dogs react in different ways, and there's no way of knowing. And once they've started killing them, they've got to stop. So they might only kill 2 or 3 beagles, and then that's the data. But that laboratory beagle that died is absolutely a whole different kettle of fish from your Labrador, from your thing. So that LD number for us now, after I spoke to him, we just deal with it as like, and one of my pals killed a Labrador up in the top, well, I'm not going to say where. Basically, long story short, this Labrador ate 5 sachets of Harmonix when it first come out. It was a big fat greedy Labrador. It dug a burrow up and ate it. Oh, I can't remember what it was, cilantro, and it was covered and protected and it smashed its way in. I can't remember, but it was 5 sachets. And they said, listen, like that dog off the LD number should have had to eat 45 sachets or whatever it was. It rolled that dog over, like it did. Yep. So but as Al says, I think, and tell us where I'm wrong, that's the same word, Brodifacoum, Flacop, whatever.
Different dogs are going to take different quantities, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've always strong believer in that, so you can't put it just to 2 beagles. Do you know what I mean?
I want to say 2 things here. Number one, as you're quite right, there are loads of, they're all dogs, one species, but there's multiple breeds, and people react differently to warfarin. Human beings react differently to warfarin. So why is it any sort of like surprise that you will have a bell curve? And that's what an LD50 means. An LD50 literally means it's half the number of animals within a sample set die. And if you have that bell curve like that, and that is your median mode in the middle, the absolute middle, 50% will require less than that number. So let's say it's 10 grams, just picking a number out of the air. Half of them will require less. This bugger down here may only require a single gram, a phenomenally small amount. The other half, you can go all the way to the other end. The guy up here, bathe in the stuff, swim through it like bloody Scrooge McDuck, and he's absolutely fine. This is one of the things I don't like. Using an LD50 to try and establish how many rats that you've killed. Using an LD50 to try and establish, the difference between that works very well. Rats are quite homogenous in their makeup, and it works quite well. Using an LD50 to justify reckless behavior is dumb as a bag of rocks. Okay. It should be used to inform and educate a decision, but it should never be used to justify bad practice or poor pest management. Okay, it is to inform of a risk, not to justify knobby behaviour.
What do you think? Right. So, what do you think of going forward with using working terriers, or even any dog going forward? What is both your opinions on that matter? Because obviously it's a strong category in my eyes. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I don't know. You use a different, but I know Sean's getting a scrappy spaniel, but it's one of them, innit? You know what I mean? But what obviously, to me, what I want to see is industries bringing more into it, because obviously,
I tell you now what I think. I think you've got to put yourself in a position where you have elevated yourself to being the go-to person for that. So for me, and if you can do it and do it well, I think there is money to be made, but you have to understand your customers' needs, and they can be different. I think the jobs where they are needed, if you could get into your nationals and do work for them, etc., the website
like works at nationals and stuff.
And I think
listen, Sean, that's how I ended up getting a big professional football club in Yorkshire, because obviously Nationals never covered that. They had a big meeting and obviously come back and said, well, we can't offer that. If you can get someone else in, we'll collaborate. And that's when we went in, do you know what I mean? Same with Network Rail. I used my terriers to find out how rats were getting in that. And it were all to do with cable. And obviously I could not see that. The dog scented it, do you know what I mean? So how would they go forward with obviously training course? You know what I mean? Obviously, you can't train a dog in like 2 days or whatever. How would you go about that? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a strong believer. Most pest control companies, whether you have 1 dog or 10 dogs, I genuinely believe that they should have 1 dog or something like that. Same with bed bugs. Do you know what I mean? Because it's easier. It's easier because obviously, in a supermarket, say supermarket, when they bring pallets in and sometimes they bring rats in, in pallets. They've seen it. It's gone. It's disappeared. You know that rat's somewhere in there. You bring your dog in, it locates it. You know that rat is behind that pallet, a different pallet. Do you know what I mean? You've annihilated it in like 10 to 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
I think what I think you will find at some point is that I'll get back to my favourite saying of the money is in the paperwork, not in the hard work. And at some point, if you can get all your paperwork written up, all your risk assessments that you can really market.
I think you have to come a lot, don't you? You have to do it.
Yeah, proper. And I think there's very few people who can get a dog to a point that it is truly useful in pest control. But I think if you are that person, you are, I think there's good money to be made at it. But you're just going to have to, everyone who does it is going to have a big think about
the jobs and the time to do it and stuff like that.
You've got to work out how you are going to monetize it. That's my gut feeling. What do you think about dogs and pest control?
Me?
Yeah, what do you think of dogs and pest control?
I think it's a fantastic tool, and with any tool, the more thought you put into it, the more dividends it will return in the long run. If you just use it, as I said before, as nothing more than a point-and-click exit missile, you're going to have a very limited return on it. But if you use them for all of the things that make them unique, their sense, even down to like the social elements of it, which is you're a big gruff, awful guy coming in, and it helps improve our, everything from the image all the way down to sort of like the practicalities of it. I love dogs, and I think
it's a different tool, isn't it, Lex? It's a different tool, obviously. What do I check every morning? What do I make sure what's in my van every morning? People go on about pest controllers say torch is your main thing. What do I put in my van first? My dog. Then I go back and get whatever I need. My dog is there straight away. And people obviously torch straight away. What I've got rodenticides, but the first thing is in my van is my dogs. Done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it works different for people, but it's one of them. But it's been an absolute pleasure, lads.
So was that your answer to the first question, was it? Have you enjoyed your time?
Have I enjoyed my time? It's been the best an hour and 40 minutes of my life, lads. No, it's an eye opener. It's an eye opener. Do you know what I mean? The things I'm going to take away from this is working dogs. Obviously, they need to be there, whether you want to or not. It's one of them. They're always going to be there. Your organisations, your national bodies, what you need to do. I need to get in one of them? Probably do. Should I slag them off? No, shouldn't do. But I'm an open-minded person. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. What I want other people to take away from this is stop slagging other companies off. No one cares. Do you know what I mean? We're all in this industry. Do what you need to do. Go home, see your family, done. That's it. And if you want to join an organisation or whatever it's called, right? BCPA, Basis Prompt or whatever it is, MPTA, do what you need to do. Will I join one of your... I've got to go back and do a drawing board because them pictures were pretty good.
There we go.
Lex was telling me his life story. Sean just put it straight away. I love you though, Lex. Keep it up, lad. And one thing before I go, Hugh, you're not a clown. You're all right. I like you. Just in small doses, so keep smiling. All right, can I give a few shout-outs anyways? My good friend Adam. From
this will be your shameless plug. Go on, give us your shameless shout-outs.
My good friend Anthony, obviously, he helps me a lot, Ridex Pest Control. I've just took on a new SEO. It's called as fucking proper down-to-earth. I've met a couple of people, Luciano, like Sean knows, a proper down-to-earth man. I tell you what, it rings me up, mate. He knows what he's on with. Fucking unbelievable, man. Jay from Jay Norman, he owns Country Pest Solutions. And just fucking love life, lads, and keep smashing it.
Yeah, exactly. Good night. That's all from me. I've got no more to say.
From me.
Yeah.
That's the magically refilling beer. I need one of those. I've not seen you top it up, but every time you picked it,
just come up. I didn't want to say it on camera. I was like, can you fill it up, please? Can you fill it up? And she filled it up. She's just done a 12-hour shift. She's gaffer, really.
Go on. Last question before we go. Who do you want to see sat in the seat? Who do you want to see us interview next?
There's a couple of people. TNR, I don't know. I'll have to message your name, but he's a good one. We're at Ecolab. He's won a national award. You know what I mean? Anthony at Ridex. Has Luciano been on?
He was meant to be on last week, but he was
Let me tell Luciano, you little Italian bastard, you want to get on this podcast, right? Who else? You've had Scott Munley and all that. Have you had Stuart Blair?
Yeah.
Yes, he was one of our very early ones. Yeah.
You need to get nationals on, if I'm being honest, lads. You need to get nationals on, because obviously that's where they're more commercial than domestic, so you've got to find a balance with it. Do you know what I mean? More SEOs, obviously. You need more SEOs because they're the ones what portray a lot of businesses. Do you know what I mean? Whether you're a sole trader or national. But and someone from BCPA and MPTA just to battle it out, and I'll watch that. Other than that,
I was about to say,
it's been a pleasure.
We want to try and set up a bit of a debate between. We want to do a live structured debate, just on something, on anything. It doesn't really matter. Yeah,
Lex, once you do that, right? Let me join. Let me join. I'll be middleman for me and Sean.
No, what we're going to do is I'm going to try and do sort of like we're going to do a live debate, but we'll put a poll up on one side, so basically people can vote live as to which way they want to swing on each of the topics. Anyway, we
Can
are
I just
well over
mention
time
one
now.
thing and all, right? Before I go, I know you're a podcast, right? I just want to say, what's his name? Sean Mooley or whatever it is. Yeah. You lot have been brilliant with him, because he just set a podcast. Normally people counteract. You've been brilliant with him. I love that. I love seeing that. You know what I mean? You're all for one.
Oh,
you know what I mean? He didn't like you getting me on before him, though. I'll give him that. But yeah, Pete, right, lads, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on, and it's been a laugh. All right.
Thank you ever so much.
Have a good evening. See you later.
Just before we go, and we're talking about podcasts, Sean, actually, you bust your other podcast cherry, didn't you, the other day? If anyone wants to go and hear Sean talking about the point of view of economics and fighting for what you're worth and pricing jobs properly and paying your staff and all of the other bits and bobs that go into biz, and talking to two amazing American guys, go over and have a look at the Coast to Coast podcast with our friends Andy and Gabe, who did a two-parter with Sean just the other week. So if you want to hear Sean compared to two Americans talking outside of Beauties and Beasties, trying to be professional, go and have a listen to that.
Right, one last thing. This is to Sean.
The last thing.
This is to Sean. Keep putting rat gates on. It's been a pleasure, lads. Peace out. Love you. See you soon. Bye.
See you next week, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.